You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 11th meeting for the Michigan City Common Council Workshop. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
He told me. So it's 7 after, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
For your consideration.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to look at that.
I'm Greg. I'm the city council person for the first ward, and I introduced the smoke-free legislation that we've had for the city council for the last couple of meetings.
I didn't know that.
So a little bit about that and what we're doing here. So with that ordinance, the city was originally looking at moving it from the state mandated 8 feet to 20 feet from the door, which I just feel like isn't enough and it's not clear to the public. But it also gives us an opportunity to consider what we can do to not just help our employees with their health, but also promote healthier living here in Michigan City. So that's why I worked on the new draft that removes smoking from all city property, which would include all of the city-owned grounds like those traditional workspaces like City Hall, Central Maintenance, the Sanitation Department. But I wanted to extend it also to include outdoor spaces that people use for their health and recreation, Streeble Pond, the beach, golf courses, all the other parks. And with that, that brings us to today, just finding a compromise somewhere between the two that works for everybody, and is a good incremental step towards maybe that final vision I have, if it's not shared by everybody. So the goal of this meeting is to just kind of talk about some of the changes we might make and how we want to move forward. So before I get into that too much, I really just want to be able to go around the room really quick to do introductions, just because I know there's a few people here that might not be recognized. So Tim, if you want to start.
4th Ward City Council, Tim Beatry.
Don Przewalski, City Councilman at Large.
Vijay Kora, City Councilman at Large.
Pat Maxey, a non-smoking resident.
Kat Houchin, Cemetery Board. Shannon Eason, Park Superintendent.
Terry Greetham, Director of Special Events for the City of Michigan City.
Kathy Parker, First Ward, just a citizen.
Nancy Moldhauer, City Council, Ward 6.
Scott.
Scott Mount, activist.
Tom Higgins, married to her.
Carrie Higgins, I'm the Director of the Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition for Porter County. We're affiliated with the Valparaiso University College of Nursing and Health Professions.
I'm Sadie Pontius. I'm the Tobacco Education Coordinator for St. Joe County, and I work for St. Joseph Health System.
This is Tommy Kolovic, the public nuisance from 1316 Ohio Street.
Vivian Ott, Ward 1.
Tom Donegan, 1st Ward. Gotta get that guy over there.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah. You?
Sir, can we get your name?
I'm Harold Edwards. I'm here to assist if I have to with that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Marcus Briscoe, head of code enforcement.
Stephen Kornacki, President.
Drew White, President.
Thanks, Drew. So, yeah, a lot of people here interested in finding a compromise on this ordinance. Before I hand it over to the floor for us to just have a conversation, which I'll organize up here on this SWOT analysis. There's a few things on your table. One of them is this dashboard that shows some of the tobacco rates and what those numbers mean here in LaPorte County. So I've said a lot that we've got 24% of our adults use tobacco products. But what does that translate to? So as you can see on your handout, 74.3 lung cancer cases per 100,000 residents annually, 87 birth defects for newborns caused by tobacco-related illnesses every year. And that's because LaPorte has 81% of pregnant women who use tobacco. 8.1. What did I say?
8.1.
That would be horrifying.
That was 1955.
Right.
You're right about that, yeah. And so these other numbers that you can read as well. Down here, there's one that I like to point out too, is that in LaPorte County, Because of secondhand smoke, we spend $36.4 million every year, just because of the economic burden of secondhand smoke. The state burden, so when you think of HIP, and what we're paying as a state for our health insurance for low-income people, we're spending $10.9 billion as a state.
Greg, I'd like to ask a question. So how do you calculate that LaPorte County spent $36 million on people affected with secondhand smoke?
It doesn't even say people. It just says burden.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, it could be repainting. It could
okay,
be
let
repainting.
me.
Okay.
Yeah. How is that addressed?
I'm gonna hand it over to Carrie or Sandy.
So the Indiana Department of Health looks at the economic burden based on how much money is spent per person residentially, and we know that whether you smoke or not, it impacts every household. It costs us about $1,600. I can give you that calculation in a few seconds. But we look at that as it impacts every one of us as taxpayers, but it also impacts the burden on local businesses and things like that too, as we bear that. So if you want the exact, if you're looking for the exact calculation, I can get that for you.
So I have a question on that. So then how does it burden the local businesses?
So productivity is an issue. Smokers are sick longer, they take more breaks.
Insurance
Costs are higher. Actually, in Indiana, about 40% of Medicaid patients are smokers, 40%. And so that affects all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna hit you over the head with things that you guys can read on the paper. So the goal of this meeting for the next 45 minutes is to just go through, talk about some of the changes, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, if you want to call them that, of what this ordinance means and what it could be, as we start thinking about some amendments. So, Dr. Court, did you want to start on that?
Before we do that, at the last council meeting, there was some concern from the park board perspective, what impact this has. Maybe, Chan, you want to address that, and then we'll go ahead and start working on that.
Sure. So all the properties under the park board's jurisdiction have different rules regarding smoking. We follow all the state laws as far as our buildings, that you have to stay within 8 feet of any doorway. You cannot smoke inside any of our buildings. Some of our major concerns are with outings at the golf course. If you would make the golf course smoke-free, I think we'd be pushing outings to other courses. That revenue is upwards of $80,000 a year just in outings alone. Our golfing revenue is at $1.3 million. Again, you could be pushing golfers to other courses. Our rental facilities, same thing. If you have, if you're gonna rent the senior center for a wedding and some of your guests smoke and you find out that completely smoke-free facility, that may push you to another venue. That accounts for about $70,000 a year. And then of course, Terry, all the major events he puts on, the major events that the park runs our facilities. We don't host them, but we've got Oktoberfest, Food Truck Fest, Sand Sculpting, Pride Fest, Juneteenth, Great Lakes Grand Prix. Other concerns are the beach. Another concern is how would this be enforced? The park has over 700 acres under our jurisdiction, which would be impossible to enforce a full ordinance. So my recommendation is to leave the park department out of the ordinance and let our board govern these properties with their own policies, which we're already doing. So we don't allow smoking around children's programming, playgrounds. Again, all our buildings follow state statute.
Terry, you want to address that?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Shannon. The biggest challenge we would have, first and foremost, I do not smoke. I've never had a cigarette in my life. Both my parents were heavy smokers, so I grew up with it, and I hated it. but I grew up with it. I don't like it. I spend, for those of you who've been to Oktoberfest or the Sand Festival, you see me spending half my day walking around with a broom and a dust mop, or a dustpan, picking up cigarette butts, because 95% of what I have to sweep up are cigarette butts. But at the same time, to police that is virtually impossible. For the boat race, there would be no way we could possibly police that. Already, I get 20 times a day at our events, people running up and saying, hey, there's a dog over there. We have no dog in Washington Park policy. How many people have seen dogs in Washington Park? Because it's almost impossible to police unless you have dog police and cigarette police. And I want to see it. I wish the state of Indiana, I wish the country would go, guess what? No more smoking anywhere at all. But it's legal. If you're an adult, you can do it if you choose to. The events we have are, especially Oktoberfest, is built around music and fun, and it's food and alcohol, and just it's a party. And I just think it would be very hard to just completely say, guess what? No, can't do it. The beach side of it, when I'm on the beach, I hate when people are smoking around me, and I hate even more when I see them putting their cigarette butts out in the sand. Responsible smokers, they put their cigarette out, put it in a can or something, and take it with them, but that's not always what you get. But if you can't smoke on the beach, but we don't have any authority, if you can stand in the water and smoke, where are those cigarette butts gonna end up? So I wish we could say no smoking everywhere, because I don't smoke, but at the same time, we have to be realistic about how we're going to manage it and how we're going to police it. If we can't even control dogs in Washington Park, how are we going to manage the smoking side of it? Because I can't spend the rest of my day chasing people who are smoking a cigarette over in the corner. And I know that maybe doesn't sound great, but it's...
Yeah, that's a good point too. If you remove like all the ashtray receptacles from properties, people are just going to use the ground. Or if they're smoking on the beach, they see the lifeguard truck come, you know what's going under the sand. You're going to bury it.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a good point.
If there was no alcohol out on the beach, do you think there would be alcohol on the beach? Yes, there would.
Just wanted to
find a way to hide it. So I just feel like I like the idea, if we're talking about buildings and extending it out. I'm not a smoker, so I don't mind the fact that I can't stand right outside of the door and smoke. For smokers, it's probably hurts a little bit to have to go across the street. But when we're talking an area the size of Washington Park with a beach, I just don't know how you're going to police it, and why have an ordinance to say you can't do this if we don't have a way to enforce it.
Not to cut you off, but there's a few examples around northern Indiana where we've got smoke-free beaches and smoke-free parks, and their enforcement systems are pretty interesting. So in South Bend, and Sandy can talk about this if I leave something out, because she's the director for St. Joe County. So in South Bend and in St. Joe County, smoke-free parks. Entirely enforced by signage. So no one is going around those parks with flashlights and tickets, giving 17-year-olds tickets for smoking on the beach or whatever. They just have the signage out, and it works pretty well, right, Sandy?
Yes, it's basically self-enforcing because all the non-smokers, which is, I guess in LaPorte County is 75% of people, but in Indiana is about 85% of people, are not smokers. And so when they see people smoking in the places that they're not supposed to be, people will ask them to stop. It happens all the time. Our South Bend parks have been smoke-free since 2017, and our county parks since early 2000s. And we've never had complaints. We've never had anyone arrested. We've never had any, even in the bars, we've never had any complaints that are now smoke-free that were smoking before, because really it's self-enforcing.
Thank you, yeah. And then also here in LaPorte County, when we do Pride on the beach, or in Washington Park, we fence that area out, and then we have a sign that says it's a non-smoking event and that there's a smoking section. And we've never had a problem with that. Most people see that sign and they know to follow the rules and to be a good neighbor and to smoke where they're supposed to.
But you wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
If
Would
we,
be able to have a designated smoking area if you're not allowed to smoke on the.
one thing I want to be clear about is that we're looking for a compromise here, not just if
No,
this or that.
I
So
understand that.
if it's what gets it, if it's what gets this bill to pass, then smoking sections could go in at parks. There could be a little ashtray and a bench at each park, maybe even outside City Hall and some of the other workplaces. So like if you're at Sunset Grill, and right now you can't smoke at Sunset Grill, but if you need to go downstairs to have a cigarette, get rid of that in an ashtray. The goal would be to also make sure that we don't have butts everywhere. Ashtrays would help take care of that. Smokers like to follow the rules. Like if you are a smoker, you don't just start lighting up in here. You follow the cultural norms, and those are shifting. Those are moving more and more towards spaces that are family friendly and are spaces that people can take their kids and know that they're not going to have a long lecture on the ride home about how the people sitting next door are going to have a 50% chance of dying of lung disease. Yeah.
If I could say something, Greg, I think what we're trying to do really is to establish a culture shift in Michigan City from lots of people smoking lots of places to having less people or possibly no people smoking in certain places. So, and the conversation I've heard so far seems to lean more on the punitive side of things. And from what I've seen is that people, when they did the ban of smoking in restaurants, there seemed to be a big uproar about it, for a little while. And then once it was instituted and people actually experienced being in restaurants, they had no smoking whatsoever, people were really grateful for that, because they could go out and enjoy a meal and not be assaulted by smoke. I have a real sensitivity to tobacco smoke. I don't know if it's because I grew up in a household that my dad smoked all the time in the house and in the car or whatever. But I recently in Indianapolis, I was eating out. It was a very nice restaurant. It's a whole carload of people came into the restaurant who had been smoking in their car prior to coming in the restaurant. And my nose shut down. I couldn't breathe anymore, and I couldn't enjoy the rest of my meal. So I think what we're looking at is making our areas enjoyable experiences for that 75% of those in LaPorte County who don't smoke. So that's what I'm looking towards. I know I shared the story about my dad at the last city council meeting. He died because of smoking from the age of 11 to 62. And I was with him watching him as the COD took over, and his lungs literally were filling up with fluid, and it was just as if he had died from drowning. So, anything I can do to prevent that from happening to somebody else, then I'm going to be a stand for that, because I really want people to be as healthy as possible and to enjoy themselves when they're in Michigan City doing events. And I sort of feel the conversation I'm listening to so far, it's catering to that 25% that want to smoke.
Not 25% that want to smoke. 70% of smokers want to quit.
Yeah.
What is 70% of 75?
Right, so
Yeah.
even out of those smokers, 70% of them don't want to be smokers.
wanna be
And
smokers.
most of the smokers will have respect for spaces, typically if they are not smoking. And smokers are used to this. They're used to going to places and not being able to smoke, and they know when they can and cannot smoke. And the thing is, this is Michigan City. People come here to go to the beaches. They come here to go to the great restaurants, and they come here for all kinds of things. We come here all the time. And I know that when you don't want to just cater to a certain group of people, especially for an unhealthy reason, you want to offer, you want to add to the attraction of the city, right? And the more you can provide as far as a cleaner, healthier environment, whether it's for boaters, for beach goers, for restaurant goers, you're just improving the overall reputation, and it becomes more of a family-friendly environment to attract families to all of these things, whether it's the beaches or the parks or whatever the case may be.
I just want to add really fast, I'm sorry, I just want to add really fast, that our smoking rate in Central County used to be as high as 25%, now we're at 16%. So over those years since our smoking ordinances have been passed, our smoking rate has gone way down.
Okay, let's hear from some citizens. And you have to understand that your viewpoint of what people want is opposed to the park district's data or whatever on what people want. Some people want to smoke. It's not indoors. And the reason that there is no solid data on outdoor secondhand smoke, there isn't any. Nobody can pull up any numbers about it. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
It's fleeting, temporary, occasional. The only data that's available is when outdoor smokers are congregated in an area, such as a hallway or a patio outside a restaurant. That's when there's noticeable secondhand smoke. This is smoke and mirrors here, because what you're talking about, this is about smoking. Nobody is going to say, we need to be able to smoke everywhere. Smoking is good for us. We all know it's bad. But the problem is, the city council's job is not to legislate our health.
That's right.
There is the American Cancer Society, the Lung Association. There are hospitals, there are hotlines. There are, even the cigarette companies have non-smoking initiatives. Why Michigan City is deciding that they need to take on, and Greg, you said it in the last couple minutes of the last meeting, the purpose of this bill is to help people stop smoking. We don't want our city council to be legislating our health. All right? So clearly, you're trying to slide something under this other missive of let's help people stop smoking. No, we don't want you to do that. Go legislate other important things in the city, but leave people alone.
So I disagree with that for a number of reasons. One of the things that happened when I was researching our bill was looking back at Michigan City in 2008 when the city council was looking at smoke-free restaurants and bars. The national smoking rate was 24%. Since 2008, we've had a lot of community interventions. Community interventions could be smoke-free bars, smoke-free restaurants, outdoor spaces like this, like we're talking about. And because we've had those national pushes and other places have had better ordinances than we've had, like in Michigan where it's smoke-free everywhere inside, the national smoking rate 2008 was 24%. Now it's 11%. So the role of government in this conversation is to promote health and make it easier for people to live the lives they want to live. 70% of smokers want to quit. Half of them try every year. What can we do to help them? The 9% of mothers that are using tobacco, 8% of mothers that are using tobacco products would like to quit. But instead they're exposing their unborn child to tobacco. And
all right, that's not the city's job, is to legislate that.
I disagree.
It's not. And why we are taking up this initiative, I don't get it. But it really better stop with buildings and not extend any of the outdoors.
And
be honest about your motives.
Again, I'm against smoking. I don't want it around me. I don't want to be a part of it. But I'm one of the boots on the ground that's got to help enforce it. I'm one of the guys that's standing at outdoor. No,
it is self-enforcing.
It's not self-enforcing.
We've never had a call, never.
I'm telling you what I experience on our beach. I live here. I go to.
You don't have
if
a
you'll
law.
let me finish, please.
Certainly.
We have a law that says there's no glass bottles allowed on the beach. I'm a citizen and I work for the city. When I see people with glass bottles on the beach, I tell them, you're not allowed to have glass here. Do you know how many times I've almost got my ass kicked? Because somebody's like, you ain't gonna tell me what I can do here. You're not the police. Now you're looking for one officer on a four-wheeler to try and come over and deal with it. And that's what it's been that for 10 years.
So I can tell you what the difference is, though. When you're talking about glass, there is no secondhand glass. When
Sure,
you're talking about
somebody
tobacco,
drops a bottle on the ground and breaks it.
Somebody
steps on it.
So
Yes,
can I finish, please? Also, I let you finish, thank you. When someone is 10 feet away, which secondhand smoke can travel about 20 feet. If anyone's ever gotten out of their car at Walmart and smelled smoke and you see the person out by the door smoking, it can travel up to 70 feet. There is no safe level of tobacco secondhand smoke. If somebody is 10 feet away and they are being affected by that secondhand smoke, and they say, hey, you know what, I don't appreciate that, this is smoke-free, can you get rid of your cigarette? They're gonna do it, because most people follow the law. And because they understand, smokers understand that, sorry, I get loud, sorry, I am just a loud person. Smokers understand that their smoke is dangerous to the other people. It is dangerous. And not only is it dangerous to people, it's also very dangerous to animals. So all of those cigarette butts that are being put inside under the sand contaminate the groundwater, contaminate the lake water. It's terrible for the environment. Butts do not decompose. They are made of cellulose, they are plastic, so they never decompose. So they just sit there in the earth and leak poison. That's what cigarettes are made of, is poison.
Sandy,
You have an agenda.
Thank you.
But you're not a resident. Please
I'm a
don't.
former smoker.
All right, it doesn't
And
matter.
so I understand.
Kathy, we're gonna have a civil conversation, okay? DeMarcus and then Rodney. And
I
then
am a city employee, I am a smoker. I do want to quit, I'm part of that Senate corporate that's on the take it, but at the same time, I worked many jobs where you could smoke on premises. I'm all for that. I respect everybody coming to a public building. I respect police would not smoke here in Michigan City as an employee, but we transfer that over to the open outdoor area. Yes, so you said self-governing, but somebody walk up to me like Terry said, put out this cigarette, I'm an adult, I'm an American citizen. I would respect your wishes and walk away, but I'm not putting out a cigarette. Because I can't do that.
Even if there's a
So
law.
I believe there's a lot of wasted time on the outside and everything with the Parks Department. Like Shannon brought up, one of the favorite things that people do at the golf course is walk around and smoke a cigar and play golf. Once you take that away, what is that going to do to the revenue? We already lose a lot of money through the state already. We're losing a lot of money because of the Parks Department can't fully be operational because of what's going on in America right now. So that's another thing to take away. Let people live their lives and do what they want to do and make their own decisions. But I do agree that people need to stop smoking. I'm a part of that. I will try, but at the same time, let me make that decision.
thank you, DeMarcus. Okay, Rodney, and then why am I blanking on your name? I see you every day.
Tom.
Thank you.
First of
Rodney,
all,
Tommy, and the
I'd just like to say, my name is Rodney McCormick. I'm 58 years old,
Keep asking me.
and we don't like big government. I don't like big government. I don't like government interfering with our business, especially when you tell us what to do with our health and how we want to do it. This cigarette ban or this cigarette proposal, it's horrible. It's a horrible idea. It's a waste of time. People should, this is America. If I have family members who pass away because they smoke cigarettes as well. They had a choice. They can, if they want to stop, stop. We can educate people and let them know how bad cigarette smoke is for you, but we're taking this too far. I think this is just a way for you to get some attention because of what's going on at the city council. To be honest with you, you really haven't done nothing. And I'm really troubled with this, to be honest with you. I wasn't gonna come here. I live right here by Burnham Brewery. And I'm really upset that you got the audacity to try to pass the Dora Cup. And you think it's okay to walk up and down the street and get drunk and hang out at the beach and get drunk. And you're in here talking about cigarette smoke. And then you guys don't never enforce any ordinances that we already have on the books. You're creating more headaches and more problems. We got a lot of parking problems over there in my neighborhood, and none of you city council members don't seem to want to do nothing about it, because I guess it's because I'm the one who's bringing the complaint for the community. But we're going to resolve a lot of these problems. We need to get on to bigger and better things. The first ward doesn't stop on the north side of Highway 12. We got other issues in the first ward that need to be addressed. I don't have no problem with young ladies coming here from St. Joe, giving us their input. God bless them. Thank you for even coming. You're not even a lifetime member, and you don't know what we want in Michigan City. You know, if smokers follow the rules, we shouldn't even be here today talking about this. Because smokers follow the rules, right? So why are we even doing this? This is a bunch of nonsense and it shouldn't happen. Thank you.
You guys had your hand up.
I'm a co-sponsor of this ordinance, and the reason why I co-sponsor is because I understand that just to smoke or not to smoke is a private decision, but it has public ramifications included to it. If all the smoke that people inhaled stayed inside them, I wouldn't have a problem with smoking at all, because all they're doing is endangering themselves. But the dangers of secondary smoke is well documented, and every time you exhale, it has public ramifications included in it. And to me, if you create a risk to bystanders who are not smoking, then that is a public issue, and we should be looking at that. We represent the public, and should we create rules that allow a known risk to continue, or should we establish rules that diminish or eliminate any increased risk to the public? That's the issue to me. It's that simple to me. And I'm hearing what Nancy said, that we're trying to look for exceptions to create. And to me, in a perfect world, there would be no exceptions at all. But if we're going to look at exceptions, man, I think we should definitely keep them to a minimum, a bare minimum.
Thank you. Yeah, Don.
Okay, and I'm City Councilman Don Perbolinski, and I'm the gentleman that sponsored the first smoking ordinance, which dealt with, and I'll tell you how it evolved, from an employee that works on the north side of the building, and there are employees from City Hall that go outside and have a smoke break, and they're 8 feet away from the door, and that's all legal within the state of Indiana. But apparently what happens is, on a nice breezy day when the wind's coming out of the north and people have their windows open, some of the smoke was going into offices, and I don't know if it was one person, two people, or what have you, were complained about it. So then I was approached, would you sponsor this ordinance so possibly we could move the people that are having a cigarette further away from City Hall? And I said, sure, I'd be more than happy to do that, to take into consideration the people that are in the offices working. Now, if 20 feet wasn't gonna work, we could always amend the ordinance at another council meeting and move them back 100 feet or move them across the street. So that's how it all started. And then Greg came back with this one with a lot more things to it. But what I want to say is, where I want to start is with the city employees, okay, and try to help them first, and try to, instead of trying to have an ordinance that's going to cover the whole city, every park, golf courses, beach, people smoking marijuana out on the beach. But then, how do we deal with that? Well, you deal with that is you call the police and tell them to come down there and monitor that and get involved with it. So then what I would like to see happen, and I have to agree with the park department wholeheartedly, from a financial standpoint, and I think last year you were at a loss also. 2025 was a loss from the park department, profit-wise?
A loss from what?
Money, that's revenue.
Now, this year, we were at a loss, we weren't last year.
Okay, this year, talking 2026.
Yeah.
Projected a loss. Okay, all right. And I don't want to see that happen any more than it has to. The golf course, and I golf occasionally. I've been to golf outings, and I've heard it from golfers that if they're not able to smoke at the golf outings, then they'll just go elsewhere And when these outings take in $100,000 a year, you're talking revenue. Now, if people want to smoke, they can smoke. I've been on a golf course with people that have smoked, but they stand, if you don't like it, then you just walk over here. Or you just say, hey, can you put your smoke out? And everybody's congenial, and they'll do that. I mean, one puff of smoke that might blow into your face is going to hurt me when I don't live with smokers. I don't smoke. I don't hang around with smokers. And, I know we don't want anybody to do bad things, but I don't see how we can police it, number one. And I know we can put all the signs out we want, and we do that with dogs, and that doesn't help. I don't know what this is going to do. And personally, from a personal standpoint, and I've even talked to police department, like on the day of the boat show or boat race. So if somebody comes up to you, officer, and says, hey, there's somebody smoking over there, what is going to be your height of patrolling that, or patrolling, looking at things that might be bad on the horizon that happen now when big crowds come about? That's what they're looking for. They're not, I don't think, concerned about somebody having a cigarette over here. What I would like to do, and Greg and I have talked about it a little bit, is let's start with the city employees, start with the city buildings, City Hall, Central Maintenance, the street department, and let them have an area that they come up with, just like at City Hall here, have them come up with an area that they want to put a picnic table out there, and if the smokers want to go out there and have a smoke, then you're going to go by the end of the building and have a smoke. If it's raining out, if it's snowing out, if it's 10 below zero, that's the smoker's problem. It's not my problem to build a lean-to for you to go out and have a cigarette. And then the other thing, if I work at City Hall or any public building and I'm an employee there, if I want to have a cigarette, I can go out and sit in my car and have a cigarette. There's no law that stops you from doing that. And I've checked with the city attorney on that and checked with the council attorney, and there's no laws that stop that. And the other thing is, the city offers smoking cessation, right? Is that the right way to say that word? Okay, cessation programs for free. Okay, for free. And what I'm going to suggest, and we can put in this ordinance, is that the city make it mandatory for employees to attend a meeting, and they can do it on pay during the day, and give them all the information that the city wants them to have to try to help them stop smoking. Just don't send them down to the end of the corner and go, yeah, you want to smoke, go smoke down there. Because I know the whole gist of this ordinance is to try to get people to stop smoking, and I appreciate that very much. Because I've had 2 individuals in my family die of lung cancer. So I've seen the whole gamut, okay? So that's where I'm coming from with the ordinance. But to go citywide, parks, beach, festivals, what have you, I don't agree with that. But I would agree starting with city buildings and get the city employees. I mean, I don't know how many people work for the city, 500 maybe? So, for example, so if you can get, 25 or 30 people out of 500 to stop smoking in a year's time, I think that's an accomplishment also. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Where did you recommend?
As far as like mandating city employees to attend any cessation class, Are you gonna hit fast food for the people that are obese with high blood pressure, cholesterol? People that don't exercise, are you gonna mandate that we go to those classes? Like, how are you gonna pick and choose the health risks that you're forcing us to go to classes for? So I'm like totally against any mandatory. It's offered to us. We have resources. That's already in place, so that's an individual choice. I just don't think you can mandate.
It could be provided, yeah. There's ways
Yeah,
to
it
have
is
like a
provided.
poster up and.
It's provided.
Okay.
So that's a good
Yeah.
point, that we
Yeah,
know,
well,
know that we have
I
it.
appreciate your opinion.
Thank you.
So, Scott, you're really chewing, you really want to talk? Okay, and then I need to say something, so go ahead.
What about Tommy?
Yeah, pull on citizens, please.
skipping you. Tommy's turn, and then we'll go to Scott. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, this is Tommy Palavic, the public nuisance from 1316 Ohio Street. I'm just gonna pretty much show you the same thing I told you back in September. You don't need this. We've already tried, Sharon Carnes already tried doing this back in May of 2019. You can go, the meetings are on YouTube. It went to first, third, and second reading. She wanted to ban smoking in all the parks. It got voted down 4-3. They had a workshop, and five police chiefs to go. Mark Swiss, he basically said it's not going to be at their highest level of enforcement.
Which, to be clear,
it's unenforceable.
this
Now I'm
ordinance
talking
doesn't
now. When I talk, you listen, okay? Okay. I figured you're the one that's going to bring this back. Go to the park on fire. Ever go to Lot 1 on fireworks night? Everybody sits around on the wall and smokes their marijuana, and all the police do is just stand in their little designated groups and lets them have their fun. You can't smoke on the park, but if everything, for everybody knows that everything west of the Lot 1, that's the Port Authority grounds. You can camp on the property, you can go on the Port Authority grounds, you can go out on the pier, that's the Army Corps of Engineers. If you go down the Pierhead Lighthouse, that's the city, you can't smoke there. What's the municipal employee gonna go home to their families at night and tell their children, Mommy got busted at work today for smoking her loose spare out in the parking lot at City Hall? Then you say it's gonna be enforceable, you put signage? People are just gonna ignore the signs and smoke anyway. If you're gonna put the signs up, how about putting up the signs for all the other no things you're not supposed to do? How about no panhandling, no soliciting, no streaking, no marijuana smoking, no skinny dipping, no nude sunbathing, no graffiti, no this, no that. The list can go on and on. So, I've walked all the grounds of the fire department facilities. It's fine. I even asked, that was one of the first things I bombarded 4 fire chiefs to go Randy Novak with, the state representative. I asked him about that. He said, there's no smoking in any of the police vehicles, no smoking 8 feet from the door. It's fine there, so I think y'all should just drop this and nobody else pick it up. And if y'all vote for it, Mayor Angie just needs to veto it. Just like she should have vetoed those 4 rotten resolutions you had for those corporate greed mongers at 402 Royal Road. That's it. I'll go and watch the rest of the meeting on TV.
Scott, are you ready?
I'm Scott. We're getting, there's an inherent conflict between personal freedoms and government overregulation. I think we all see that. And people get really hung up on their rights, but in America, our rights are balanced by responsibilities. That's not forget by the people who say, I've got my rights. I also think we should be so focused on enforcement. This is 80 to 90% is self-enforcement in this case. And when there is an ordinance and a city employee like Terry goes up to somebody else saying, hey, there's actually a law, you can't do that here, that's more effective than just some guy saying you can't smoke here. So it's a tool. It's not a solution to everything, but it's a tool. There's no universal answers to this. This is just a step. It's just a tool. And we're catering, so many of these arguments are catering to the rights of the 25%. What about the rights of the 75%? Your rights end right where my nose starts. I think many restaurants and bars found out there were a lot more people who didn't smoke, and they increased their patronage when they went no smoking. As far as the city goes, I think because we do have a high smoking rate in LaPorte County, and we do have high healthcare costs for the city, that anything we can do to encourage city employees to drop it on city property, city buildings, it's a tool. Many people say they want to quit, and tools like this have been shown by the research to help facilitate that. I have one other thing, but, and my constructive solution is keep the parks out of it. There are too many places where, yeah, the golf, I'm not a golfer, but I know people like to smoke cigars and golf. And we shouldn't take away certain, I'm a motorcyclist. I wear a helmet, but I don't like helmet laws, at least for adults. There's a certain joy to riding on a nice summer evening in the country, and that shouldn't be legislated away. In the same vein of this, I don't think we should take this away. I think most smokers are mostly responsible, especially when they, are told, please, not around here. So anyway, there's no universal answers, but we shouldn't just cater to the 25%. We mostly want to quit anyway. The 75% are pretty important too.
You guys know what vaping is though? Like everybody talk about the hot tobacco and dropping. You guys are not talking about the emergency vape, which is the same effect. You just don't, but you don't smell it though. So you can sit there and say, you can smell a cigarette easy, no problem. I have a vape in my pocket. I got hit it right now. You guys can smell anything. It's like a secondhand smoke. So yes, smoking has dropped in bars and restaurants, but I guarantee you, 20 people are sitting over in the corner hitting their vape and you will never freaking know.
Again, I'm not
so that's what I'm saying. It's not, I understand what you guys are saying, and I'm all for it, especially in city buildings. I'm a smoker. I work here. I'm all for it. I work multiple jobs. You can smoke on grounds, and I will follow that rule to the T. But again, outside with the parks and everything, you say we cater to the 25%. The 25% will stand over in the corner so they're not around you guys. The rest of the percent will come over and point you out because that's a problem. I have respect for everybody else in their levels, but do not come to me and govern what I'm doing one-on-one. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Marcus. John, yeah. Yeah, thank you, John.
I just want to, first, with Terry and Shannon, you guys are right there. I don't know if any of you guys from the city council have contacted the Grand Prix and asked them what they think about it. That's the biggest moneymaker for the city every year. If the Grand Prix, if you guys approach them, they're like, yeah, we're thinking about having a non-smoking ban in the parks. And, and the Grand Prix says, well, we'll just go somewhere else along Lake Michigan. That could be a big problem. You should take into account what they have to say. Anybody check with the tourism board and see what they have to say. It's a whole, there's just so much tied into this that could be really bad for Michigan City. Now here, I put out a couple informal polls on Facebook, not so much for whether or not smoking should be banned in the parks, but should this be something that the city council decides, or should it be something that the voters get to decide on? And I'm going to tell you, and if you haven't gone look, Michigan City Uncensored, The Real Michigan City, and Michigan City Good, Bad, and Ugly are all three Michigan City Facebook groups in the city. If you haven't gone look at it, on Michigan City Uncensored, let the city council decide. 9% people think you should. Referendum of voters, 51%, and no ban at all, 39%. The Real Michigan City, let the city council decide, 6%. Let the voters decide, 72%. Let people be alone, 22%. Michigan City Good, Bad, and Ugly, let the council decide, 12%. Let the voters decide, 88%. There's lots and lots of public opinion on that, both good and bad. One of the commenters mentioned that what you're trying to do may not even be legal in Indiana. Because when you put this on the ordinance, you said the public place, chapter 7.1512-2, public place means an enclosed area of a structure which the public can divide or permitted. Places smoking are prohibited. Smoking is prohibited in the following places. It doesn't cover outdoor spaces. So you may be running afoul of state law, which if you put this ordinance in, you could be sued. Then so that's something you need to think about too. Because while there's a lot of people that don't smoke, there are people that do, and there's the smoking lobby is just as big as the non-smoking lobby. If you guys want to have a lawsuit on your hands from the state, you may want to enforce the law and then bring some more costs into the city. Another thing is how much money is going to be spent on all these signs you want to put up. Everybody says the city doesn't have any money, yet you're going to spend more money to do this. Now I kind of agree that people, if you're a smoker and you're out in the public and somebody says, you know, could you please put that out? Most people will. But you don't have to put this all over the city. And as far as like, Mr. Belinsky, I hate to say this, but as far as carving out exceptions for here and here and here, that's just a pain in the butt for everybody because nobody's going to want to know where they get to smoke. So it's either an all ban outdoors or no ban outdoors. This is just some of the things that I had to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
I can speak to that preemption, by the way. The state does have preemption for many things dealing with tobacco. Certainly we can't raise a tax locally, we can't, ban signs or advertisements locally. But the one thing we are able to do is strengthen smoke-free air laws. Many parks are smoke-free in the state and no one is being sued if it doesn't happen.
Thanks. Yeah.
Be quick. I'm for it. You guys say about governance, just do it. Someone's gonna smoke, they're gonna smoke. You could possibly, you said 25% of people smoke, so then 25%, since everybody's speaking hypothetically, maybe shoulda, coulda, woulda, is that those 25%, and that sign stops somebody, now you only got 15% or so. But the thing is, if you guys are gonna sit here and say, well, this ordinance is gonna do this, then we need to look at every single ordinance that we have in the city and which ones are being followed and which ones are not. And there should be either a new ordinance or an amendment to current ordinances on every agenda. Every 2 weeks there should be. And if it's not, then we are just sitting here just talking and just getting to know each other. But if you're not willing to revise or amend other ordinances, then yeah, I should just go walk my dog on the beach even though it's not allowed. When this ordinance goes through, listen, we will be smoking. What's the big difference between either or?
Thank you. Yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I was going to have this have a hard end at 6, but I started 7 minutes late, so we'll do another 10 minutes.
Right, I have some comments.
Yes, Dr. Cora.
I deal with this every day in my professional life, and people usually quit when they are ready to quit. And I've also seen people wearing oxygen, smoking, and then they have sustained burns. So it's all over the place. So to make it simple, I think we should confine this to office buildings, and I think we have about 8 feet from the door. If we want to extend it to 20 feet, I think I'm okay with it, but I think we should leave the parks and everything out of this and let the park board handle that. That's my suggestion, because enforcing it will be difficult.
So 2 points I want to respond to with that. Once again, enforcement is just self-enforcement. Smokers, when they go out into public, they know to look for smoking signs, they know where they can smoke. So I disagree with you that it would be onerous in that regard. I want to focus a second on these opportunities where I'm kind of listing off spaces where we can put in some amendments. So I've got that we might exempt the golf course, creating some smoking sections. This is something that I've talked to a few people about, especially Shannon, where if the concern is that Krieger Memorial Hall is going to lose all of its revenue because everybody needs to go there and know that you can smoke freely outside the building. If we put in a smoking section that's clearly marked and then people know that to throw their butts away in that, then Terry's spending less time sweeping up. If we could get the smokers to see that there's a spot for them to be tidy and to stay in their own area, they thrive in that. As a former smoker, I know that I look for the social cues of whether I'm not allowed to smoke in an area or not, and follow through with that. You don't just light up wherever. Otherwise, we have to ticket people in City Hall every day for smoking inside. So, smoking sections is something that I would support as an amendment. So, smoke-free city grounds where you can't smoke anywhere, but you've got your little green smoking section. I can see that there's very good reasons to exempt the golf course, especially if the idea is that so-and-so is not going to rent it out because they are concerned that they can't have their cigar bar. Sure, we can start with that. And then one more thing I want to talk about is that we keep mentioning that the beach will be hard to enforce, but in LaPorte they have a family section that their park board director, Shannon and I just were on the phone with him. He says that it's worked really, really well. He mentions that enforcement is an issue. They don't take it either. I don't want a ticket. I want to keep repeating that. I don't want anybody to get a ticket for smoking. Smoking is an addiction. It's a health problem, not a crime problem. I don't want anybody to... Smoking disproportionately affects people with low income. Why are we going to tax people with low incomes with these smoking fees? So I have absolutely no interest in ticketing people. The police are completely uninvolved in this ordinance. This is just signage that creates an environment that helps us change. I'm getting distracted from the point I want to make, but the goal of this ordinance, and I've been extremely clear from this, is that we're trying to create an environment that allows our kids to grow up in a space that they don't see tobacco all the time. If tobacco is a weird thing to them, then they're not going to reach for a pack of cigarettes when they're having a stressful day. They're not going to try to be just like dad and get a pack of cigarettes when they're 18. And so how do you do that? One of the ways you can do that on our beach is by creating a family section. So maybe in front of the lighthouse, I don't have to pull up a map, you guys know where that's at. Like that cement section, and then in front of it, if that could be a family section where you knew that you could take your nieces and nephews and kids and everybody, sit down with a beach blanket, and you could spend the whole day there. No one's going to show up to smoke pot beside you. No one's going to have a cigarette beside you. And if they do, everybody glares. That's a great enforcement mechanism too, is the glaring. That's a big part of it. So I think that if we're going to look at some of these compromises, creating smoking sections either at places of employment, as well as some of these wedding venues, probably even all of the parks. That way you knew that you could go downstairs. Exempting the golf course and effectively exempting Washington Park minus certain areas. I'd like to see Guy Foreman be smoke-free. Maybe there's a smoking section around the corner from that. Obviously, no one should be smoking in the splash pad. No one needs to be smoking at the zoo. Nobody needs to be smoking on the food areas, like in North Point Pavilion. That smoking section around the corner, for sure. But I'd like to see at least a family section that allows families the right to go to our beach and support their kids in the living a tobacco-free lifestyle so that they continue to believe that tobacco is a strange thing that you don't do. That's a goal for a lot of parents, and it's something that the city should support them with. Shannon.
So regarding a family area anywhere near here, that is the most dangerous place to swim in Michigan City. We ran the lifeguards. It was called Dead Man's Corner. You never want to encourage swimming next to a jetty or pier structure because there's constant rip currents. That area would also force them to walk through all the smoking areas to get to restrooms, concessions. And Terry just pointed out the lifeguards. I mean, if the city council was going to approve this, maybe it's the lifeguarded area, the 200 by 400 foot box that's families, which also puts children where lifeguards are.
This is coming
People
together.
might be more inclined, if they saw no smoking signs in this area, not to smoke because there's lifeguards. But yeah, I would not ever encourage anyone to take children or adults to Dead Man's Corner. That's a very bad place.
Carrie.
I just wanted to bring up a twist on the perspective, though. Since it is the majority of people that don't smoke, isn't it possible to look at it from the perspective that you could potentially increase, like restaurants can potentially increase their business when there's no smoking allowed? Could you potentially increase revenue? We're assuming you're hearing from the few smokers who would say, I'm not going to go there, I'm not going to rent that space, but who might come because it is now smoke-free? And that's what I'm looking at. We're focusing on who wouldn't come, but you've got now 75% more potential that would come.
For sure, yeah. When people are driving up from Indianapolis, Plymouth is close, but it's another example. Just driving up 2 or 3 hours away, picking out, do they want to go to Miller? Do they want to go to National Park, State Park, our park? Ours has restaurants, you're in a city, there's an outlet mall, there's a zoo, splash pad, all the things that you can do. We're going to have a destination playground worth $4 million. There's going to be a lot of reasons to come to Michigan City. And if one of those is that they've got a family section on the beach where they know that they can have a nice day at the zoo and then go sit at the beach and not have to explain what cigarettes are to their kids. Yeah, thank you, that's a good idea. I've got another couple of minutes. Has anybody said everything they wanted to say?
If we are going to have family section, let the park district decide where it should go, because I want it to be safe.
Yeah,
I like this lifeguarding area. That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. You have enough parking in that particular
Here's the
area
thing,
too.
when you start cutting that back and people start smoking less, you're gonna cut right out of the kids' health insurance. Plus, you're gonna reduce businesses, flow of business. Because when it happened in Chicago, I've watched several businesses lose a ton of profit. Yeah, sure, you'll draw the crowds in. Plus, remember, nicotine's one of the only things that killed off COVID. Yes, it is. If you'd like, we can invite a doctor, another doctor here. I've been to Franklin Clinic when they couldn't even stop a nosebleed, so, yeah.
So
And,
like I
St.
said-
Anthony's,
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
the quad bypass failed before they even got off the table. So limited belief in local medicine.
So I just want to check in with the other city council people if they've said everything they wanted to say and came here to say. And okay. Otherwise, it's been an hour, and I really wanted to keep this at an hour, so we're going to do that. Thank you, everybody, for coming and providing your ideas. We're going to sit down with our attorney and come up with a draft for a new ordinance. Yeah, some amendments. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.